Thank you, everybody, for joining us here with Digi60's New Speaker Series. First, before we begin, I would like to thank the Ottawa Digital Resource Centre for their partnership. I'll begin with the land acknowledgement. On behalf of Digi60, we would like to acknowledge that the land on which we are on is on the traditional, unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Please take a moment to learn about the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation and to learn about their history, concerns, and work as a community. We believe that the path to reconciliation includes learning and understanding these concerns directly from them, as well as a concerted effort for settlers and the government to make active work towards righting the historical injustices that have faced First Nations people. I would love to introduce our host, moderator, one of my favorite people, Keith Whittier, who's a writer for Ottawa Life magazine. Born and raised in Ottawa, Keith has been passionate about movies for years. He was able to take his fondness for film and put it to good use as a movie reviewer. He reviews films for Ottawa Life magazine and is a regular contributor on multiple radio stations in Ottawa. He has been accredited for multiple film festivals, including TIFF, Sundance, Venice, and most recently, congratulations, South by Southwest. Take it away, Keith.
Thank you so much. I love that introduction. I need you to come and do all of my PR work for me. Thank you, Mesa. Ladies and gentlemen, on any night when you would usually find Mesa and I together, that in itself would be a good night. But we have a treat for you tonight because we have not one, not two, but three phenomenal Black creators from the Ottawa area that we are going to get to know and have a phenomenal chat with tonight. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it. Digi60 reaches out and they ask nicely, and I say yes. Allow me to introduce the wonderful people before you. First of all, I want to introduce you to Christian Colombai. He is born in Congo. He has traveled the world at a young age. Building on a graphic design career, he now heads a production studio called Maja Entertainment. Welcome, Christian.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah. Next up, we have Tegan Smith. She is the co-founder of Studio 2020, which is a curated photography studio in Centertown, and the author of Small Talk, a periodical in prose. Tegan, welcome.
Thank you.
Last, definitely not least, I would love to introduce you to Thomas Cumberbatch. Don't know if he's related to Benedict. He is the CEO and executive creative director of Godspeed, an Ottawa-based growth strategy and creative consulting agency. That is a mouthful. Thomas, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. So before we get into this, I'd like for each of you to take a moment and to tell the wonderful people a little bit about yourself. We drew straws. Christian, you won. You can go first.
Well, thank you again, Keith, for having us, and also thank you for Digi60 for making this available for Black creators. I think that's a great platform to talk about what we do and who we are. Yes, so my name is Christian Colombai. I'm from Congo, like you said. I've been in Canada for 20 years now. And I'm a graphic designer. So I went to school for graphic design, and then I turned this graphic design and the passion for movie into a production company right now, Maja Entertainment. And we're proud to have accomplished two, you can see the posters behind me, two amazing films. And I'll be happy to talk about them as we go on with this journey with you guys.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. We appreciate it. Tegan, you're up next.
Well, as you said, thanks again for having us on and for facilitating this evening's discussion. As you said, I am the co-founder with Thomas here at Studio 2020, a curated space where we invite artists in to come in and use the space as they would like to create and imagine and have fun. And I am from Ottawa, born and raised. I have a comms degree and background from the University of Ottawa. And for me, with respects to the arts, I gravitate more to the written art form. So, writing, technical works and creative works. And my most recent and prized work is, as you said, the Small Talk, a periodical prose, which is basically it's a journey through a very traumatic time in my life that I am opening myself up to sharing with folks, postpartum especially, women who have just have children, and it's a reflection of that time, and it's something that you can really see is in terms of where I was at that point, the vulnerabilities in my life. So the written word, the written art form is really my flavor of art. And, the technical writing as well as what I do alongside Thomas for Godspeed.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much again for joining us tonight. Thomas, how about yourself?
Awesome. Well, thank you once again for doing this. This is wonderful. Great to chat with some great people at 6:30 at night. I love it. So as you know, my name is Thomas Cumberbatch. I am son to Winston and Kathy, both Caribbean immigrants to Canada. I am husband to this beautiful lady over here, Tegan. I am dad to Justice and Journey, who are my two lion cubs, who I love very much, my two sons. And I'm the founder and executive creative director at Godspeed. Godspeed is a place where businesses, individuals, and organizations come to dream, really. It's a place where we get to unearth and illuminate their souls. We believe that the soul is the number one most important aspect of any human being and any business. And once you find that soul and you're able to articulate the essence of that soul, it literally opens Pandora's box for an individual, organization, or brand. And it allows people to live every moment, every breathing, waking moment with purpose and meaning. And that's my work, but it's not work. I love what I do. I would do it for free.
It's play.
Yes.
Well, I think we can all agree that it means the world when you're doing something that you're extremely passionate about. And as you said, it just the line between work and just enjoying something, it just that line just disappears. So thank the three of you. I want to open up some conversations with you. And the first question that I have for you is, what were the major challenges and also major triumphs of defining yourself as a creative? And for that, Christian, we'll go back and start with you.
Wow. Okay. I think that as a creator, you're constantly working. So, and one challenge is today can be the triumph tomorrow. One of the things that I've realized as I was making, so the poster on my right here is a documentary film. And we wanted to talk about immigrants, because I'm an immigrant. So we wanted to talk about immigrants who volunteered during Canada Day 2 years ago. So for the 150th anniversary of Canada. So we wanted to explore that world and see how, for that big day, you see all those volunteers volunteering and without getting paid. And we wanted to find out why they did, they went through this journey. And it was amazing because, and the difficulty was to get into the world because, you have an idea and that you have to execute it, right? But the triumph is also at the end of meeting those people who have great stories to tell from somebody whose mom came from the Philippines, right? I left her whole family behind, and she came from the Philippines, and she had to work hard as a caregiver to get her family over, to another story of somebody who just wanted to go for the adventure of coming to Canada and seeing what that was like. But what was interesting, it was the common goals. They came to the country, and then through volunteering, they were able to get friends, family, because the volunteering community became their family. They were able to get access to places that they never thought or dreamt that they could be, like be in front of the prime minister 1 year, or meeting be close enough to Prince Charles the next year. So it was interesting to learn about those people and see the journey. And that was, even though it was a hard film to make, any movie is a hard thing. It's a hard labor of love, right? But the pleasure was to to find those stories and to connect with my story as somebody who came as a student here in Canada. And it was a perfect match, and I loved it. I loved it. Yeah. And like Tegan said, it becomes it doesn't. I mean, sorry. It's not work anymore. It becomes something fun, something joyful, and we enjoyed every bit of it.
No, I hear you, and I'm sure you're not the first person that's mixed up Tegan and Thomas. The T's, I get it. I get it. I get it. What's that?
I get Megan, believe it or not.
Really?
All the time.
Well, I get Kevin. I get Kevin, and sometimes I've even gotten Dave, so I can't even explain that one. Same question over to you, Tegan. Some of the major challenges and triumphs of defining yourself as a creative.
I guess it's sitting in a place of, wanting to be accepted and wanting your work to reach a wide audience. And I speak specifically about my last publication, and for those who have had the opportunity to read it, or are interested, you can learn more. Hit me up and I can tell you more about it. But because that was such a personal thing, and because it does deal a lot with Black motherhood, it's defining myself as a creative and dancing, between creative, activist has been a bit tricky, because you want it to be received by the masses, and yet you're trying not to offend, but more or less open dialogue and open people's minds and have them sit from your vantage point and see things through your point of view. And defining myself as a creative through that way, or defining myself as a creative through that channel, has really helped me to lead in certain conversations where people can understand that this is how I deal with pain, this is how I deal with trauma. Especially at the time that I wrote it, there was a lot happening down south in the United States. There was a president there who was saying some really vile things, and it's being projected to the masses. So my outlet was to write about it. And like I said, I am a technical writer, but I had to really dig deep for this one and really unearth and bring to the surface the creative aspects of myself, and really poetically, put that into a manner or in a way that people could consume and not feel threatened by it. So, defining myself as a creative has been tricky, sort of dancing that line between, a creative, and activist. But I think the two are part and parcel, right? I think, activism and activism art, they all work together to achieve a common good and a common goal, right? Which is to maybe persuade people, maybe to help people see things through a different vantage point, and also to spark people to rise up and take a stance on certain things. So it's been great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thomas, that's a tough act to follow.
I know. I was like, when you said your name first, I'm like, what are you doing, man?
but the same question to you, my friend.
The biggest challenge that I've had as a creative is, I think, the biggest challenge we all have as human beings, and it's answering the most important question, existential question, is who am I? I'm a true believer that, when you discover and uncover who you really are, that's when things don't necessarily always become easy, but that's when things become clear. And I would say that the greatest challenge and the greatest triumph that I've had as a creative is answering that question. And, before I discovered that I was a creative, I was an athlete. Growing up, I played sports all the time, and it was my passion. I wanted to be a professional football player. That's, I went to university. I played in university. I played a little bit after university as well in the States. I came back here, and when I knew that I wasn't going to play again, I went through some serious existential pain. I didn't know who I was, because I was Thomas, the football player. Well, it took a deep exploration into myself, into my destiny, to my birthright, to really get to a point where I could understand that, hey, Thomas, the football player, was one aspect of you. when I became awakened to the fact that I was going to create and I was going to work with people and brands to help express who they are, I was like a barber with a bad haircut. I was like, my goodness, I still need to really figure out who I am as I'm helping people to figure out who they are. And it's been a journey, but today I can say that, I'm getting closer and closer, and it is current in the work that I'm doing for our clients and friends and for myself, and for ourselves, every single day. So that was my biggest challenge and triumph, is just answering that question, who am I?
And it's such an interesting point that you make, right? Because we live in a society where a lot of times you're defined by your title, right? By your job and what you do and what have you. And it's like, what you do isn't who you are. At least that's what I've always fundamentally believed. And so that's why, a lot of times I kind of bypass the whole "what do you do" question, because to me, it's irrelevant, based on whatever conversation you're having, of course. And I find that the values that my parents instilled in me are still there. They'll always be there. But in terms of like the point that you raised in terms of the "who am I," I think that's a moving target. I think that can depend year in and year out. But your fundamental foundation of who you are as a person, that's something that I think remains pretty constant.
Agreed.
So yeah, thank you for sharing that, guys. I really appreciate it. We're moving on here. Now, this next question is an interesting one. You get to a point in your life where you kind of look back and you think about the mindset that you were in when you did certain things in your youth, and the things that you did back in time, and you look at the things that you've accomplished, and then you kind of look back and you sometimes want to put, that proverbial arm around the shoulder of the younger version of you. So keeping that in mind, what is some advice that you wish you were given when you were first starting out? And Tegan, I'll start with you on this one.
Be open. We come from, parents who are from the Caribbean, and they were raised a certain way, and they instill in us that you must go to school, get your education, and, become a doctor or become a lawyer. All of these things that they have in their minds for you. But they don't really, slide in there, you have choices, Take your time, try different things, learn what you like, take away the good things, leave the bad things, find your path. So I think, if I could speak to my younger self, or when I encounter, young men and women coming through here at Studio 2020, I say, be open to the possibilities, don't be hard on yourself. There's no one way to, like reaching and achieving your dreams and your goals. There are many ways to that destination, but you have to be open. You have to be creative enough to, and you have to have the willingness enough to sort of, go in that path. Because ultimately at the end of the day, it's what's calling you to that purpose, right? So that passion that you have and that drive will ultimately lead you there. So I think for me, I think it is being open, having that open mindset and having the courage to listen to that voice, that inner voice, because in your mind, you might be thinking, okay, well, maybe I should take, the more conventional route. Maybe I should be listening to all of the voices around me, and maybe I should be heeding that. Tread cautiously. Like I said, take the good and take the bad, but you can't negate that little voice that's inside of you that is pushing you to maybe think about this too, because it's deeply connected to your purpose as well. And there you'll also find some fulfillment.
Excellent. Appreciate that. And those are some very good advice. Thomas, how about yourself? What do you want to say to the younger version of you?
Well, I'd like to say a lot of things to that younger version. You didn't know me when I was younger. You'd have a lot to say to me. But
there are a lot of things I'd like to say to a younger you too.
That would be a different kind of show. Okay.
What I would, the beauty of art is that I think that although some of us create art by ourselves, we never just create art for ourselves. Art is something that is enjoyed and consumed by many. You know, it's something that we share. I always call art a universal language. I can go to a beautiful village in Africa, and I could show someone a picture, a drawing. I can sing a song and they would know that I'm happy. Or they see a picture and they know that what I'm trying to communicate. But if I spoke in English and they spoke in their language, we might not be able to communicate that way. And what I would tell my younger self is to begin my art journey by building a team. And in my context, because you know, I'm not just creating art for myself and selling it for myself. I'm actually working with a team, using art and leveraging art to help people find clarity and meaning. When I started kind of as a lone wolf. And because of that, there are a lot of lessons and things that I didn't hear. And today, because I've built a team, I've learned so much from other artists that I kind of walk and journey with, that today I run a business that's successful because of the wisdom of many. You know, I always attribute the success that we have at Godspeed and at Studio 2020 to the involvement of others in this vision. And ultimately, you know, that's what I would tell myself. Creating art, it's something that many are going to enjoy, are going to consume, are going to ingest, are going to love. So find a way to do that with people. And that's what I would tell myself.
And monetize it.
Yes, and monetize. Yes, 100%.
Some sound advice. Thank you for that. I will let you guys quietly work out some issues while I move over to our friend Christian. Christian, thank you for patiently waiting.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
You're in a very interesting industry right now in terms of film, and I'm sure you're constantly learning through that as well. But going back to your younger self, what's some advice that you would that you give yourself back when you were starting out?
You know what? Based on what they just said, I have two distinct advice that I would tell myself, and it works perfectly in my journey growing up to be the guy I am today. So the first one, based on what Tegan said, I'll say be patient. Also, don't stop dreaming. She mentioned something that's very important, is always to listen. I mean, yes, you got people giving you advices and people around you guiding you as you grow up. But one of the things that you also have to be careful with is not to lose the voice within, guiding you and telling you exactly, you know, what you were inspired to do, what you were created to be. And I feel like as my greatest joy is whether I'm a graphic designer, I'm on set somewhere. That's where I find myself. I find the true version of myself, because that's where I'm it's like a joy, inner joy. So listen to yourself for sure. And then the second one, based on one Thomas, I didn't get it wrong this time. Thomas said, create a team around yourself. Yes. When I started too, I was a one-man show. And what happened with that is, I mean, when we started Maja, we were two. But one of the things that we realized early was that we need to have the creative, right? So, but also the business guy, right? And they were equally important for the business to work. One of the things thank God we realized that early in the journey, but still though, looking back, I wish I'd known that before. You leave college with those dreams and ideas and the voices guiding you to fulfill your desires, right? But what you learn though past college, once you grade your certification, is a whole other story. Building your team, making sure that you have somebody who deals with business, solely with business, making sure that you have people doing graphic design. If that's the case for us, for Maja, film production and making sure that even though we're connected, everybody knows their own role. Building a team is major. It's major. Yeah, and then you get to you don't waste so much time trying to figure things out.
That's right.
So I appreciate that.
No, I would agree, because there's so many times where people want to take on so many different responsibilities on their own, right? And you can't do everything. and having that strong team foundation, I think, is very important. So I definitely agree with that. So thank you all for your answers to that. My next question for you is, how do we continue to build Ottawa's communities of BIPOC creatives? And Thomas, I will start with you on this one.
Okay.
Oh, I think we might have froze for a second. Are we back?
We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
This is what happens with live talks. Okay, I'll say that again. Thomas, the question is going to all of you, but I'm starting with you. How do we continue to build Ottawa's communities of BIPOC creatives?
Oh, I think they froze again.
I think so.
Uh,
All right. Well, these things happen. All right. Christian, guess what? Since you and I seem to be live here, I'm going to start with you on this
wait.
question.
They're here. They're back.
Hang on. But are they? Now I'm starting to wonder if they're really back or if they're just like freezing in place to psych us out. No, I'm getting the hand. Are you getting the frozen hand there, Thomas?
Yeah.
Christian, is that what you're getting? Yeah.
I think that, yeah.
Okay. So this is what we'll do. Let me ask you the question, and hopefully they'll be able to work out the technical issues. I was having them when we first jumped on this call. I guess it was their turn.
Yeah.
Okay. So Christian, my friend, how do we continue to build Ottawa's communities of BIPOC creatives?
I kind of wish Thomas started answering that one. Yeah, so you know what? One of the things that I've realized is that the community, even though is big as big as it is, we don't connect. We're not connecting. I mean, this is the first time I meet Thomas and Tegan, right? I've heard of Studio 20. That's Studio 20, right? Am I saying that right?
2020.
2020.
Oh, now they're back. Ask you a question, you freeze. You're like, but then our business is 2020. Some respect on that name. I see how it is. No, that's cool. Yeah, but it's 2020.
2020. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So this is the first time actually I'm getting the chance to actually see who's behind that. I've seen the post on Instagram. I'm following their page, but I didn't know who were the people behind it. And it's great to actually connect, even just like this, because now I know who I can refer to if I need a studio space, right? Sure. And unfortunately, I think that's Ottawa. Ottawa, to my knowledge, Ottawa, I feel like is very disconnected. I see they're shaking their heads, so they agree with that. So yeah, that's cool. I feel like Ottawa is very disconnected. And one of those are the other things that I'm struggling with as a filmmaker. For example, so this is we did a series, or we're developing a series right now, and this is the poster for the first episode, right? And me as a Black filmmaker, one of the challenges that I'm having every single time I have an idea and I want to put them on from paper to the screen is funding. They don't have programs for Black or colored filmmakers, where you can just ask for funding and then get a chance to shoot. Maybe I checked the other day. Then the grants are not specifically made for us, and yet I've realized that they want us to tell our stories. So there's a small conflict there. But yeah, no, it's I don't have the answers for that one. But I love platforms like this, moments like this, where I can actually connect with others. And I'm sure you have others watching right now, willing to come out and help, whether it's helping out with what they got, their resources. My vision for Ottawa, I'll just say this before I finish. My vision for Ottawa is this great community of creators, right? Where I can pick up the phone and call Thomas for any type of things, and then you can call me whenever you need something, right? And all over Ottawa and Gatineau, without missing a beat. So yeah, so I think that's the disconnect. And again, I don't know how we can resolve that, but this is the first step. So thank you for again, Digi60 for making this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we know they're back because 20, we hear 20 and that wasn't enough. So 20, the 2020 people are back. Okay, guys, seriously though, Tegan, Thomas, how do we continue to build Ottawa's community of BIPOC creatives?
I'll take it away.
Yeah, this is a good question, and I'm so thankful that you've asked this question, and sort of along the lines of what Christian was saying. I think access is very important. Mentorship is extremely important as well. Being able to have access to someone who is in, the arts, who has quote unquote made it, or, is sort of at the top of their game, is really encouraging for people to see. And if we can come together as creatives, it's only going to make, things better for those who are considering, pursuing, their art form sort of on a full-time basis. There's when we opened up this space, Thomas and I were sort of like, what the hell are we doing? But the whole idea was to be able to open up this space and to welcome people, so that they could be free and that they could see that the potential is very real to do something different, and to have impact. So I think, being able to see us take that sort of risk has been well received by folks who have come through this place. I remember we had an artist who came in here and he was doing his music video, and we were fortunate enough to interview him. And in his interview, he said, his creative director was looking for a studio. You remember this interview? And they were looking for a spot, and they were wondering who in their right mind in the middle of a pandemic would open up a studio. And then he was pleased to see that, not only were we were young and Black. So I think that it's important to be able to see it for the community. The community needs to see it, who's operating these businesses.
Yeah, I agree.
And I also think collaboration is important too. Like, we're not competing. We believe in collaboration. We, do our best to support, artists, other creative houses, other studios that are similar to us or not similar to us. And we believe that this is how we grow. This is how we unite. This is how we come together. There's a proverb. It's an African proverb that I hold dear to my heart. And it's, if you want to go quickly, go alone. But if you want to go far as a community, you got to go together. So this is where our mindset is. And I think that is something that we hold fast to as we continue to think about ways in which we can encourage and uplift and bring, the community together. So mentorship is very important, and collaboration is exceedingly important.
What she said.
Sometimes you just gotta go with that. I want to jump in and say, when I look at that question, the word that jumps out to me is creative, because when you think of real estate, a lot of times you'll hear it's a buyer's market, it's a seller's market. Right now, I think is like the optimal time to be creative right now. So going back to what Christian said, with a shout out to Digi60. Digi60, I've known of them for many years. They put on a lot of different events. I'm familiar with their film festivals. And one of the things about it is they've created this wonderful, supportive community where I will tell you that old saying, if you don't know what you don't know. So several years ago, I didn't know that the film community was as strong as it was here in Ottawa. I know that now, but more so, I know that there was a lot of great supportive people that are extremely talented. And I find that the playing field has kind of been leveled, because the days of the big blockbusters are kind of like put aside right now because studios don't want to release them. You might have seen that joke about Daniel Craig being 80 at the next James Bond premiere, because that's when they'll probably end up releasing it. But the thing is that you're seeing so much wonderful independent film right now, so much great storytelling. And I think, although I know you guys aren't directly in film, I think that translates to your business as well, because everybody on this panel can agree that this is really the best time to be creating. If you have, effective stories, that this is the time right now to showcase them. So I'm really excited about what that has in the future for us. I can tell you that a lot of the things that I'm seeing coming out of film festivals right now are just really strong, independent stories. And obviously they need studios to go to, and they need great filmmakers to do that as well. So I think it's a very exciting time from that perspective. Not taking our current situation lightly, but I'm just saying sometimes through that chaos, there does come opportunity.
Sorry, AK, I would just want to add something, because yes, you're absolutely right. And as a filmmaker, it's like a gold field right now, because I get a chance to create a story, and then get a chance for people to see, because they can go to the theaters. One of the things that we're looking at with the series COVID session is to see how mental health is affected because of COVID, right? And to also see how one of the second episode deals with Black Lives Matter within the context of COVID, right? What does that look like, right? And it's great. Like yes, the situation is bad, like you said, and then my heart goes to everybody who lost somebody during these times. For over a year, we've been in this world of fear and this cloud of death. And one of the things that kind of comes out of that is stories that we can tell, either to uplift, to teach, to connect with people. So yeah, no, it's
absolutely.
I agree. I think it's really about adapting. Like if we had spoken a couple of years ago, like curbside pickup is something that I think X's did when they were coming to pick up their kids because it was their week. That's what curbside pickup might have been. Now it's this whole other language. Now when you talk to somebody, the parting greeting is stay safe, right? So I think, again, from a creator standpoint, it's just about adapting to the situation that we're currently in. We're going to be opening it up to questions soon, but I wanted to ask, of course, I am privileged to be speaking to three Black creators here. Who else would you guys recommend that people should know within our community and that they should be working with?
You know what? I want to give a shout out to my good friend. His name is Wegan Allen.
100.
He owns a studio just like ours. And when I say just like ours, the studios are a little different, but he's a studio owner. And he's working really hard to create, this just an awesome business. And his studio has a big cyclorama, so you can drive right onto a set. Like you can drive a car onto a set. And he's the only one in the city who has something like that. And he's surrounded by a bunch of young Black and brown creators. And he's doing great work with them. He's encouraging them. He's bringing them onto projects. He's telling stories. He's doing great work. His name is Wegan Allen. He's the owner of Lens Studio. So shout out to Lens Studio. That's my guy. He was here at my studio on Saturday that just passed, Saturday night. And we're just hanging out. So community is important. And, we don't look at each other as competitors by any means. So I'm giving my man a shout out.
Love it. Love it. Tegan, is this a what he said moment, or is there somebody else that you'd like to shout out?
There are a number of people that I would love to shout out. Like the mix, Black, white, brown, whatever, that I've come across. I definitely want to give kudos and shout outs to the Nice Brothers, NYC, Nice Image.
Yeah,
they own filmmakers, award-winning filmmakers. Here in the city, amazing photographers. But the knowledge that they also bring to it, also from the DRC, like you, Christian, the perspective and the lens that they come when they're in different settings. It's very beautiful. So there's a lot to learn from those guys. Examples that you can take. I also want to shout out Remy Theriault from House of Common. Remy, although he doesn't really, publicize this a lot, but Remy has taken in, students who are coming out of, the various programs here in the city and he's really, nurtured them and helped them to develop their skills. And I talk about Poet Express when she came in here, just to see how he sort of, takes the students and he walks with them and then sort of lets them go off and build their own. So those are some folks that I, just want to shout out and say, if y'all don't know, y'all on this call don't know who those people are, go and find them. Go and look for Studio 4 Sets. Like Thomas said, go look for Wagon. Also go, at Lens Studio, and also go and see the folks at House of Commons. Really great folks in the city who are well known, really accessible, and really nice people to connect with. Oh, and Julian.
Yeah, so
Cloud in the Sky.
Yeah, Julian 100%. At Cloud in the Sky.
Yeah,
Cloud in the Sky is a great production studio. I've worked with them. They've used this studio. They're good friends of ours. Julian is he's a co-founder of that company. He does fantastic work. He's a great individual. So blessed to Julian from Cloud in the Sky as well. They do amazing work.
Amazing productions.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Christian?
The Nice Brothers, my fellow guys from Congo. I had a chance to meet them a couple years ago, and we clicked immediately. I love their vision, where they want to take their studio and what they want to do with Ottawa, especially as Black filmmakers, and their team is just a wonderful team to work with. I've worked with them before, so yeah, no, the Nice Brothers. Merci beaucoup, les amis. And hopefully we got more projects. I know they're developing other projects, so yeah, it's just cool to have people that just angry for more, and we develop, and yeah.
Yeah, they just pump stuff.
John and Chris. Yeah. Boy. Yeah, John and Chris are doing a wonderful job. I hope they're watching though. I hope they're watching this.
I hope so. They're getting so much love. I definitely hope they're watching this.
Yeah, and I want to get my check back.
Okay, so again, thank you guys so much. Before we open it up to the Q&A portion, and again, I would invite anybody who's on, if you have any questions, we've got a Q&A at the bottom. Feel free to put your question in there, and we will do our best to get to it. How can the good people follow you? This is a good opportunity to talk about your social media platforms, for the business, for you, whatever you'd like. Tegan, how can people get in touch?
Don't follow me personally, you might be disappointed. Follow Studio 2020. That's at stu.dio 2020 on Instagram or on Facebook, but Facebook's kind of like not what we do, but Instagram is where we play.
Fair. Fair enough.
Yeah, you can follow Godspeed at it's Godspeed Communications on Instagram. It's GODZ Speed Communications on Instagram. We're on Facebook as well, but that's where Instagram is where we play as well. My personal photography page, which I don't update that much, although I do quite a bit of photography. I don't update it that much, but it's Cumberbatch Photo. So you can follow at Cumberbatch Photo to see some of my work. Those are the places where you can follow us.
Wonderful, thank you. Christian?
So madjat.ca, that's the company Instagram. So madja.ca. But you know what? Most of my work is more on my personal site. So Chris K. Cal. So basically a short version of first name, last name.
And when is your series going to be dropping? I was fortunate enough to see the first episode. When is that? When are you expecting that to be coming out?
So we got blessed that we got into multiple festivals, and we even won we won Best Narrative and Best Actress at the standalone Toronto Film Festival. So that is a great reward for what we're doing, because it's self-developed and self-funded. So hopefully after the after the festival run, we'll be able to have a specific date. But yeah, if you follow me up, I'll have all the information for beautiful audience here.
Perfect. Well, I'm excited. I wish you all the best. Okay. Now, I'm not sure if I am going to be looking after the Q&A portion or if Mesa is going to be spearheading that. I'll wait a moment to see if she's
totally
coming
up
back
to
on.
you. Totally up to you, Keith. If you want me to do it or if you want to do it, by all means. I think you have the lovely voice. I think you should do it.
Translation, Keith, I don't want to do the Q&A.
No,
that's fair.
That's fair.
That is fair. I speak Mesa very well. Okay. All right. So we've got a few questions from Wafa El Reyes. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. I probably am, and for that I'm sorry. Here's a few questions. There's a few questions here. First one is, hi. What gap do you believe these conversations are filling in the public's education about the BIPOC and specifically the Black experience in the media landscape? So I'll open that up to anybody who wants to answer that.
I think that that for many people who don't have many friends who are who would be considered to be BIPOC, they are not enlightened to the types of conversations that we have. And I don't think that these conversations should necessarily be about teaching other people anything. I think that it's just safe space for people with like stories to have conversations. And it's their responsibility to take away what they need to learn. And I think that that's the gap it's filling. It's allowing people to listen in to different perspectives, different ideas, different trials, challenges, wins. And it's allowing people to broaden or increase their perspective. It's like reading a book. It's like you don't understand something, you open a book, you read it with an open heart, and you take some things away from that. Mm-hmm. I think that's the gap it's filling. Mm-hmm. What's happening right now is that the book has been written for centuries upon centuries, but now everybody gets to open it and hear and read authentic stories and authentic perspectives. And I think that that's important and healthy for an entire community and civilization. It's not just about, white people need to listen to, these stories. It's the whole community needs to have open books all over the place. We should be reading each other's context and stories. Like one thing I explain to people who aren't, BIPOC, but, who aren't Black, is I explain to people, you can't just look at someone and say, he or she's Black. Mm-hmm. Because I've sat in circles where everybody's skin color everybody's adorned with this beautiful melanin, but everybody's culture in that circle is completely different. My family who's from the Caribbean versus somebody else's family who's from Africa, versus somebody's family who's from somewhere else. We might all look the same, but we have different stories and context. So that open book actually helps the entire community, because when I can understand, an African context versus a Caribbean context versus a Black American context, that's when you have true diversity. Mm-hmm. Diversity is for everyone, including people within, visible race, categories, so that's just my thought.
Yeah, sorry to sort of just expand or continue what you were saying. I think when these conversations are being had and with respect to filling in the gaps, I know sometimes, the listener or even the people having these conversations like to sit in the trauma of the BIPOC experience. I think we need to acknowledge that, but we also need to acknowledge that there are other dimensions of the BIPOC experience that are beautiful, that are rich, that need to be acknowledged, that need to be brought to the forefront a little bit more than it has been. And when I talk about the trauma, I'm talking about obviously the slave trade, the police brutality, all of these injustices that are committed against these people. But with that, there are also very important, beautiful contributions that folks who identify in the BIPOC community have made, to advancements in, the arts, in science, in medicine, whatever the case may be. So when you're listening in, or when folks are listening into those conversations in those spaces, it's important to not just sit in the trauma, to go beyond the trauma and to hear it all.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. And our history is so colorful,
Yes.
very colorful and diverse, and you never meet the same Black person twice, right? My story is different than yours, and yet we're part of this beautiful Black community. So yeah, no, the question is great, but it's just so hard to answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, again, this is one of 3 questions that came from this individual. The second one being, why is it important you're given a platform to have these conversations as Black creators?
I
think you really touched on that in the first answer, but go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
But for me personally, the answer is opportunity. Like a platform like this gives me the chance to speak, to get the world know, hey, you know what? I am here. I'm a Black creator or filmmaker. I like the word filmmaker more because that's really where I find my peace and my joy. And to let the world know that, you know what, this is what I do, and here are my challenges, and here's what I gained from this journey, this conversation here. And then I need more opportunity. We need more opportunity because one of the things that I'm not going to say the names but one of the things that we were talking about prior to this meeting here was we don't get enough opportunities, right? Because nobody knows us, right? And you'll get access to certain things because you need to know. We don't have the information isn't necessarily out there for us to find, and then so as the opportunities in Ottawa, I really see Ottawa becoming some like Toronto or Vancouver, because I met a lot of whether Black, white, Spanish, met a lot of creators who are willing and they want to get the chance to project the work, but they can't because they don't have the funding, the access, the resources. So all of this, makes it harder. So yeah, opportunities. I think opportunity is definitely the word for me, the key word for me. Yeah.
Absolutely. And not waiting as well. I mean, this is, a great opportunity, a great platform to share, but it's also important to not just sort of sit back and wait for the platform to appear. We're living in a generation now where we can create our own platforms to be able to open our doors and welcome and embrace and encourage and uplift as well. So I think the era of waiting for the table to be erected and waiting for the media to pick it up and waiting for this and waiting for that, I think that flavor and that way of sort of like looking at things is kind of coming to an end. I am encouraged by the folks that come in here and that have their own platforms that are showcasing their work and that are showcasing the works of others. It's important not to wait for those things to happen. It's important for you to have the courage to create it yourself.
And also answering that question, why is it important to have platforms like this? My answer is pretty basic. It's important for us to have platforms like this because it's important for everyone to have platforms like this. I think it's that simple. And I think the biggest challenge in our community and our society really is that although there's a lot of talent and there are a lot of abilities and there's a lot of great work and great people, there isn't a lot of equity. And I think that it's important to have platforms like this because everybody who creates something good and everybody who has something to contribute should have a place and a platform to share that. So the same reason why it's important for Black creatives to have this platform is the same reason why it's important for anyone to have this platform. Platforming excellence and greatness and platforming challenge and questions, that is how you make the human experience rich. And for me, that's why these are important. It's because these platforms are being created for everyone. They need to be also, if that's the case, then they need to be created for us as well, right? So.
No, agreed. And kind of going back to something I was saying earlier in terms of the whole you don't know what you don't know, the hope is somebody watching this is going to be able to say, hey, there are people that I can collaborate with, and I'm an emerging ... And I've listened to this wonderful discussion with these three incredible people, and maybe there's an opportunity for me to collaborate with them. And I think that would be wonderful.
Sorry,
question.
Sorry, I just want to add something, whether they're emerging or not, like any type of collaboration, even with people like it's already established, that would be fantastic to just, get connected with those people too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Fair point. No, not at all. But so cut me off when you have a fair point. I appreciate that. The third question from this individual is, this is the final question. What has been your biggest takeaway for the three of you? What has been your biggest takeaway from this conversation?
My biggest takeaway from this conversation is that it is important to gather. There's something very special around even the thought of gathering when people come from somewhere else and converge. And what you do is you actually bring that thing from over here, and someone else brings that thing from over here, and then you bring those things together. And that's actually what's happening in this conversation. Because I've never met Christian, he's never met us. I've never met you. But this important gathering is something we need to continue as an intentional facet of our everyday lives. We have to find ways to gather. And isolation, as we know, it never has, very seldomly has, a great outcome. And I think that what I'm taking away from this conversation is just the need to gather. We just have to make sure to come together. Now I know that Christian exists. I'm going to go check out his work right after this, and we're going to find ways, to work together on someday, and that doesn't happen unless we gather. That's the first thing that people need to do when you want to solve a problem. Gather. There's a problem and you're apart. Well, it's not going to get solved. Gather first and allow things to emanate from there. So that's what I take away.
I appreciate that.
Tegan, you want to go for it, or?
Oh, sorry.
You want to answer the question?
Yeah. My question is, I don't want to say it's like what he said, but I think, with respects to takeaways from this, I'd rather see more of these kinds of conversations and experiences trending than the traumatic ones. So I think if we can continue to, all of those amazing things that Thomas said, if we can continue to, build and showcase and have the courage and the pride enough to say this is good enough for people to see and consume, and my goal is for people to understand, then I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is if we can continue to uplift and highlight these types of positive exchanges and dialogues that showcase and show the community, the BIPOC community, in a different light. So it gives us the exposure. People can come in, see what these conversations are about, and I think it helps us to grow as a community and as a whole.
Yeah. I agree. 100%. This conversation and the event I went for Digi60 2 years ago were the major moments in my career where I actually connected with people in Ottawa. And the people that are connected then today, on Instagram, we constantly talking, because you know we find I found a community that I did not know was there, you know. So being a one man show, to be able to connect with those people was great, and to connect with you guys tonight, it's wonderful. And anybody, you know, watching right now, just send me a DM. Let's connect, and let's grow this community, because I think it's needed. And honestly, I kid you not, Ottawa can be Toronto, Ottawa can be a Vancouver, Ottawa can be even an LA. You know, if we, because I've met so many creators, so many filmmakers, producers, but you know, it's just like once in a while you meet up and you talk, but you know, you need that constant, you know,
Absolutely.
affirmation that we here. You know, hey, do you need anything? Let me know, and
Yeah.
truly believe that we can go.
Yeah. And that's what we
Wonderful.
try to do here too. You know, when I mentioned we welcome creatives in, sometimes I insert myself into people's projects because I want to make sure that when you're crossing that threshold, when you're coming in here, you know, doesn't matter what level you're at, that you're leaving here knowing that you've done your best. You know, I look at some of the things that happen in here and I say, well, you know, maybe if you position the light this way, or maybe if you try this lens, or maybe if you pose her this way, because I just want to make sure that the work that is coming out of that individual, out of this space, is their best work. So we have a vested interest here at Studio 2020 to make sure that everybody coming in here, you know, whoever we come across, is leaving with their best, knowing that they've done their best. So yes, collaboration is very important. And, you know, sometimes I'm a little overbearing, but it's coming from a good place.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, and
Um,
I'm gonna just tell a story right quick about making this. So we're supposed to make. I wanted to make something over, sorry, June last year, in the middle of COVID. Right, I had an idea. I wanted to do something. I reached out to the community in Ottawa, and immediately a couple of guys, you know, Benjamin Dion, Charles Picken, camera guy and a sound guy, immediately contacted me, you know, replied to my request, and they were like, yeah, let's do it, you know. And I love the fact that, you know, we couldn't do that, but you know, we were able to do this one months later, because we had a chance to connect over just me sending them a quick message to the Ottawa filmmaker Facebook group, and he immediately responded, and I really appreciate that, how they also were in need to connect with other filmmakers, you know, and to create anything. And out of that idea that didn't work, we got a chance to do this. So you know, that's what happens when you stay connected.
Absolutely.
absolutely. Quick question for Mesa. Mesa, I know we're a little over, but I have 3 questions that are waiting here that I would like to get through, if I can rapid fire them, if that's okay.
Yeah, I think we're good. Hingman, we're good to go.
Yes, we're good.
As long as
Okay,
everyone is
perfect.
is
Okay.
good to go.
You guys are good for a couple minutes?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, perfect. This question comes from a lady by the name of Rebecca McMillan. I know Rebecca McMillan. She's quite nice. Her question, Tegan, where is the best place to find Small Talk, a periodical in prose?
That's a very great question. I've actually put my list.
Is it on Oprah's book list?
It will be on Oprah's book list.
Okay, good.
Can you get it on Oprah's
Do
book
you
list?
have it in the studio?
I will do what I can. I got my weekly call next week, so.
Awesome. I actually do have physical copies here available at Studio 2020. If you want to, Rebecca, DM me. You can find me on Instagram Atelier Tegan. So Atelier Tegan on Instagram. DM me, and you know, I can definitely flip you a copy, and I'd love to connect with you as well.
Love it. Excellent. Perfect. Next question. This comes from an anonymous attendee. You might be anonymous, but we appreciate you being here. Earlier this month, Toronto-based director Kelly Fife Marshall voiced her frustrations about the lack of exposure in the Canadian film industry when Ava DuVernay praised her film Black Bodies on social media. What are your thoughts, and what else can the Canadian film industry do to support BIPOC artists? Great question.
So much. You can do so much.
where do you start?
Yeah, it's a deep one
That's a
because you're
deep
dealing with
question.
an institution
Yeah.
with a strong
Yeah.
system. I'm going to answer this in just throw out some thoughts. It's probably not the answer, but it's some thoughts. So one thing that my parents taught me, now my father, just to give you some context, my father was, my mother and father are Caribbean immigrants who came here during the 60s. My father was the first Black employee at OC Transpo.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was written into Canadian Black history, and he has incredible stories. And as a result of, his and my mother's experience as trailblazers, they really taught me to think differently. And one of the ways I think it's so important. Listen, Ava DuVernay doesn't need any institution to advertise what she does. And the reason why is because of her level of excellence and her ability to create things with her own money, with her own network, with her own time. I think it's very important if Black creators in Canada really want to explore, whether they are filmmakers, whether they are entrepreneurs, it is so important to create something of enduring value and take ownership for the dissemination and the awareness that is generated from your work. You really do have to find communities that have a voice and not necessarily rely on the institution to promote you, because the institutions have other agendas. And I know that because part of the work that I do in brand building is working with some of these large institutions. And I see a lot of these things behind the curtain. And I think what's really, really important is making sure that your work is incredible. My parents always taught me, they said, listen, focus everything you do on being excellent, and placing that in front of people who want your excellent product. Right. And a lot of times they become your ambassadors. And I've grown as a man to see that. I can tell you that even just my company has grown so much over the last 2 years, and we don't even advertise because people are advertising the work for us. I'm not saying that there aren't any Black creators who are directors or filmmakers who are creating amazing work. But I think that when you create something, you need to, if you don't have the capacity to get it out there, you need to find the people within more grassroots type communities and ways to disseminate your work. I think that's important. I think waiting for people to, the institutions to do that for us, we're gonna be waiting a long time.
They're not here to champion you.
That's right.
You gotta find your champions.
Yeah.
No, you know what, and that's true. Unfortunately, that's what we, I'm finding as a filmmaker that there's nobody, in the government or federally that can actually say, what, hey, we've done something. Here's how we can help. And I've looked at grants all over the place, and it's frustrating at times because you're like, I have all the stories that I want to say about my experience as a Black immigrant, right, from Congo, but nobody's giving me the chance to do it, right? But like you said, Thomas, you have to find a way to just get your work out there, and by any means, and if that's your work, and if you want people to see it, you just got to do it, at a grassroots level. And unfortunately, there's no. And I think that needs to change though, because Ava DuVernay had a community of people, who helped her be who she is today. So that has to change.
It's one of those things, right? Like, I'm not a studio executive or a genius, but I have the half a brain necessary to realize that if you're making stories and people can see themselves in those stories, they're going to be interested in going to see how that story unfolds. As somebody who before this pandemic was going to the theater at least 3 times a week, there are 3 times that I've gone to the movies in my recent memory that really stand out. The opening of the Sex and the City movie, the opening of Crazy Rich Asians, and the opening of Black Panther. And the reason that those 3 stand out to me is because you saw large groups of people that you didn't normally see going to the movies 3 times a week, who were going with a sense of pride and excitement, whether it was like a girls' night out or whether it was people from the Black community putting on, different robes and what have you, and going in with pride, or people from the Asian community going to see this wonderful book that was made into a movie. So I think that there is such a huge opportunity for storytelling where these executives should be saying it shouldn't be something that they have to do because it's being as if pushed upon them, but the common sense should say, if you have storytelling where people are going to see themselves or see a reflection of themselves on the screen, whether it be the big screen or the small screen, they are going to want to pay attention to it. The numbers have shown that time and time and time again. I just saw a beautiful movie at Sundance called Coda, which focuses on our deaf community. And I can assure you that that's going to be a movie that's going to be talked about later on this year, because that, again, is a segment that we haven't really talked about. So I think it's very frustrating when it gets to the point where you have an executive that's being like, that feels like, okay, well, we need to make sure we're casting this person and that person to check off a box, where to me, it should be, as the kids call, table stakes. It should be just something that's naturally done. So we'll see what happens. But again, here's myself, in my basement in Ottawa, who can figure that out. And it's just something that so many executives, whether it be from a television standpoint or from a film standpoint, still seem to struggle with in 2021. Next question is going to come to us from Ron Godwin. And essentially, Ron is asking in terms of, where do you guys draw your inspiration from? And is there somebody that you've looked up to? So thank you for that question, Ron.
Wow.
So for me,
Don't say it. Don't say it, because you're going to say what I'm going to say.
so for me, my inspiration really does come from my relationship with God. I'm a spiritual person. Not everybody is, but God is where I find myself. And when I'm driving my car and I'm looking around or I'm speaking to someone, I really do believe that energy and messages are brought to me. And when I see something, or I see someone who's doing something that's fantastic and magnificent, I believe I'm seeing that for a reason. I believe I'm led to that. So I look for my inspiration absolutely everywhere, because I believe that God is everywhere. And that's where I draw my inspiration. And I think that that's why our work is so diverse, because I'm drawing it not from one source, but from everything. I draw my inspiration from my kids. Like, there are times when my kids will say and do certain things, and I'm like, you know what? I need to do it. I need to create a short film about that. Just simple questions they'll ask. And I'm like, you know what? These are ponderings that all of us have, but people have not necessarily put enough attention around creating something around this question that my kid would have. So that's where I get a lot of my inspiration. And I get my inspiration from the people around me every day. I am blessed to work in a creative space. Like, you walk into Studio 2020, which is where my agency is, I'm surrounded by people and an atmosphere that's very creative. And they inspire me. When people come to us with problems inspire the heck out of me. That's another thing. When something, traumatic or tumultuous happens in society, that also really inspires me creatively, because I believe art is the greatest mechanism to solve problems, and to bring people together. So there's my blabbing.
No, it's fine. You didn't want him to say any of that, or did you think he was going to say something else?
I thought he was going to start off with the kids, but yes, number one, it is God. I also, Thomas has been really, my champion for as long as we've been together. So, he's pushed me, he's inspired me to, as painful as it has been at times, he's inspired me to do things, that I don't think that I necessarily would have been doing otherwise. But my little kings actually inspire me each and every day. They teach me lessons, that I didn't know that I needed to learn. They've helped me grow and they've helped me sort of stretch in a way that I didn't think that I needed to, be stretched. And really, it's about the example that I want to set for them in terms of, again, we talked about in the beginning, having a passion and that passion being connected to your purpose. So, being able to take this risk that we, go on this journey that we're going on and have them be witness to that, there's something very exciting about that. And we learn from them, and we just hope that what we're doing, inspires them to create a path that they would feel fulfilled as well, and it's been amazing. The journey has been amazing. I'm glad I'm on this journey with you. And for anybody who is contemplating, direction, journeys, paths, again, it's all about that. It's about that voice, because that voice inside also ignites and inspires us as well. So listen to your.
I absolutely agree. Family and the voice pretty much sums the whole thing. So I'm wearing a shirt that my dad thought of. So he wrote a poem based for Black History Month, where he talks about our journey as Black people, right? And then we designed it, right? We're selling them right now. So if anybody's interested, just holler at me. But and thank you. So I got you guys. So and it was interesting because he had something, a concept as a graphic designer. He came to me, and then I designed it, and then now people are loving it, right? And that was from a poem that he had in mind to a design, right? And again the voice, because I could have said no, I don't want to do it, right? But because of the importance of what it is, and so you listen to your voice, and then something beautiful like this comes out of connecting with people, absolutely, 100%. Appreciate you guys actually too. Yeah, what you guys say was beautiful.
Excellent. I'm going to make notes to put in my book order and my shirt order. So wonderful. As we wrap up, I want to thank the three of you so much for your time tonight. We went over a little bit, so it was kind of like going to a Caribbean get together where your parents tell you that you're going to leave, and then they talk for like an extra 20 minutes. So thank you guys so much. To all the people who've tuned in to tonight, thank you for the great questions. Thank you for your attendance. We really appreciate it. I'm going to have Mesa come back on because I believe there's the speaker series next week. Sorry, not next week, but next month. There's some exciting news that you might want to share in regards to the next episode.
Yeah, well, I would love to thank you, Keith, for moderating this, and everybody on the panel. You are all so inspiring. Like Hingman and I are texting each other, like, "Oh my God, wow, this is amazing!" It's just so. I'm like, pull this quote, make sure this is written, and we're just so in awe, like just watching you guys. So let me know when your TED Talk comes out. You're all so amazing and so inspiring, and I can tell from the chat that people really, really enjoyed it, and it's so enlightening. One of the best conversations I've ever watched. We're all very happy to have you as part of the Digi60. It's very, very great. So we would like to also thank the Digital Arts Resource Center for their partnership. I think I messed up their name at the beginning. So Digital Arts Resource Center, who used to be SAW, who are partnering us for these speaker series. We are having the International Women's Day, March 8th speaker series episode, same time. And we have some great creators there too. So thank you for everybody for tuning in. Thank you to my partners at Digi60, Digital Arts Resource Center, Keith. You're oh so fabulous. To our panelists, so grateful for this inspiring chat. I know you've inspired so many people.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting this once again.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Thank you.